Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as you can see here that basically we are going to talk about the fundamental rights today in this lecture. Okay, and this is going to be a very important topic for various competitive exams and even for yourself. Why? Because fundamental rights are oftenly considered as a most basic rights for the citizens as provided by the Constitution. Okay, these are the most basic rights for the citizens as provided by the Constitution of India. So that's why this is not only important for the competitive exam point of view, but even important for yourself. Okay, so let's start with the introduction part. Okay, introduction about the fundamental rights. But before this, let me tell you one thing. Like basically, if we talk about the Constitution of India, okay, so we know that the Constitution itself having the preamble, and the preamble declares India as a sovereign, secular, socialist, democratic, republic. It means that this is what India is as per the preamble of our Constitution. This is what India is in reality as per the preamble of our Constitution. Like you can say, India is a sovereign state. It means that India is independent for its own. There is no country on us which could direct us. Thereafter, India is a secular. It means that Indian government will not admire one religion over others. It means that Indian government, its policies and its responses will be equal for each and every religion, and the Indians are allowed to follow whatever religion they want to follow, whatever faith they want to believe, and whatever rituals they want to do. But there are some restrictions, and we will discuss these restrictions in this fundamental rights topic. Thereafter, socialist, what does it mean? Basically, India is not the capitalist economy. It means that when we talk about the capitalist economics, so basically in capital economy, resources are basically used for the profit oriented works. But when we talk about the socialist, so basically resources are used for welfare oriented approaches. Okay, that's a thing. Thereafter, if we talk about the democratic, which means that India is a democratic state, as we had discussed in the previous lectures also. Like in India, the government is basically elected by the people for the fixed term of 5 years, and thereafter the people will again elect the next government. Okay, so India is a democratic. And the fifth point is republic. What does it mean? Basically, to understand the meaning of this, let me ask you one simple question. Like, who is the head of state in India? Here, the word state does not signify the provinces. Like, I'm not mean the state basically like Haryana, Punjab, UP and all. State means the nation. Okay, so the question is, who is the head of the state in India? Like, who is the head of the nation in India? For this you have 20 seconds, then I will give you the answer. So your time starts now. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13th 14th 15th 16th 17th 18th, 19th, 20. The time's up. So basically, if we talk about it, so the head of the state in India is President of India. Whosoever will be the President of India, that will be the head of the state in India. All right. And if we talk about the head of the government, at national level, so the answer will be Prime Minister of India. Okay, that's the thing. So here the word republic basically connected with this. And why? Basically, whosoever will be the head of the state or the President of India, that person will be elected one. Okay, like whosoever will be elected as a President of India, that will be declared as a head of the India. So the process is through election, and these are the indirect elections. What does it mean? It means that normal people, me and you, could not participate in the elections of the president. Okay, but the president elections are basically done from a specific electoral, and we will talk about it while we having the topic and the discussion over the president of India. Okay, so that's the thing. Here I have to tell you about the nature of nature of Indian state. Okay, as per the preamble. But if we talk about the aspirations, if we talk about the aspirations, so basically in aspirations we had a word freedom or democracy for all. Freedom or democracy for all, and this is basically provided in the three form. Okay, there are three forms for it: 1, 2 and 3. Let's talk about it. The first form is the political freedom or democracy. Okay, second form is social freedom or democracy, and the third form is economical freedom or democracy. So there are three forms of democracy. Okay, and the freedom as we had promised to our people through the constitution. The other two forms means the social or the economical freedom or the democracy is basically provided by the DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. Okay, directive principle of state policy, while the another one, political freedom of democracy, is basically promised through the fundamental rights. Okay, so we can say that the fundamental rights that we are going to study, they are basically included in the constitution to provide the political freedom or the democracy to the Indian people. Okay, and this is the enforceable part. It means that the fundamental rights are enforceable in the court if some person believes that he or she rights has been hurt. So he or she could move to the court for the implementation of his or her rights. While the DPSP is belong to the non-enforceable nature, which means if someone believes that his or her fundamental rights have not been enforceable, sorry, not fundamental rights, if he or she thinks that her social and the economical rights, freedom or democracy has not been fulfilled, so he or she could not move to the court. Why? Because these are unenforceable nature, not enforceable basically. And here is another thing, please do not get confused between the fundamental rights and the human rights. Okay, they both are different. The fundamental rights are basically part of human rights. Okay, and the human rights is basically broad coverage of rights, also include several fundamental rights. Okay, so that's the thing. So students, here I have just made a plot for you, okay, so that you could make up your mind before dive into the fundamental rights proper sense. So basically, if we talk about the fundamental rights, so as I have told you, they are provided by the constitution. So they are enshrined in the part 3 of the constitution, and the article starts from article 12 to article 35. Okay, first thing cleared, part 3rd and articles are from 12 to 35. In this regard, the framers of the constitution derived inspiration from the constitution of USA, and in USA it was known as the Bill of Rights. So the second thing which we had got here is that fundamental rights are basically brought from United States of America, but also we had done some modifications in it. Thereafter, part 3 of the constitution is rightly described as the Magna Carta of India. Okay, so the another question which we have tried here is that which part is known as the Magna Carta of India? So the answer should be part 3. Contains a very long and comprehensive list of justiciable fundamental rights. Justiciable means that these are basically enforceable in courts. In fact, the fundamental rights in our constitutions are more elaborate than those found in the constitution of any other country, including the USA. Like as I have told you, basically we had brought the concept from the USA, but we are not using the concept as it is as we brought it. Okay, we had just done the modifications as per Indian needs. Okay, so keep this thing in your mind. The fundamental rights are guaranteed by the constitution to all persons without any discrimination. It means that there is nothing like some people are able to avail the rights and some people are not. This is not like this. It is applicable for all. They uphold the equality of all individuals, the dignity of individual, the larger public interest, and the unity of nation. Okay, so this is just like a mini introduction. Thereafter, the fundamental rights are meant for promoting the ideal of political democracy. Like I had told you, basically when we talk about the democracy, so we had divided the democracy into the three heads: the political, the social, and the economical. The social and the economical are basically provided by the directive principle of state policy, while the political democracy have been provided by the fundamental rights. And if we talk about the political democracy, then this is generally provided against the arbitrary powers of the state or government or rulers. Okay, like if we talk about the history, okay, whether in India or whether in the world, we know that the territories have been governing by the rulers for a long time, and then the concept of democracy brought to the force. Okay, and then we had seen that in the democracy, basically that was adopted, the governors, the persons who will govern the country, that should not be selected from the hereditary but should be elected by the people, and thus the concept of democracy brought in the world. Okay, so basically from the past experiences, what we had seen the governing bodies which are ruling the territory, okay, if they had the arbitrary powers, it means that there is no limitation on them in order to exercise their powers, no limitation on them in order to implement the policies, make the policies. So what will happen? They will make the policies as per their need, as per what they're going in their mind. Okay, so what happened? That the general people who are living in that particular territory, they may be suffered a lot. That is what we had learned from our past experiences when the countries were ruling by the kingdoms. Okay, so that's why the idea of political democracy developed. It means that arbitrary powers of the state or the government or the rulers must be limited. They must not be allowed to do whatever they want to do. Okay, if the safety, the security, and the integrity of the things should be ensured. All right. They prevent the establishment of authoritarian and despotic rule in country and protect the liberties and freedoms of the people against the invasion by the state. Like I had told you, arbitrary powers. Okay. Operate as limitations on the tyranny of the executive. It means the actions the executives have taken and the arbitrary laws of the legislation. Okay, which means the laws must not be in a way that they are affecting the liberties and the freedoms of the people. Okay, in short, they aim at establishing a government of laws and not of men. Government of laws, what does it mean? What does it mean? It means that suppose this is the government. Okay, and then this is the people. That's the picture. Okay, so if the government having the unlimited powers, they are having the unlimited powers, so what they will do? First thing that they will make arbitrary laws. Like whatever they want to do, they will make the laws about it. Second, executives actions are or will be uncontrollable. It means that first the arbitrary laws will be made by the legislature, okay, which will be harmful for the liberties and the freedoms of the people. Thereafter, the executives, which having the charge to implement such laws, their actions will become uncontrollable. Like they will start doing whatever they want to do, okay, in order to implement the things. So that's why the unlimited powers will be harmful for the people, okay, and somehow we will return to the previous centuries of atrocities. Like we used to be when the territories were governing by the rulers and the kingdoms. Okay, so that's why it is said basically there must be a government of laws and not of men, which means that instead of providing the unlimited powers to the government and its officers and the men, there must be some lawful restrictions on legislature and on executives. Okay, which means that their lawmaking powers and the actions must be controllable so that freedom and liberty of people against atrocity must be prevented. Okay, like the present government, the present democratic form should not be transferred or converted into the previous arbitrary and the autocracy rule. Okay, so that's the reason. Thereafter, the fundamental rights are named so because they are guaranteed and protected by the constitution, which is the fundamental law of the land. Okay, like we know when we talk about the India, then India is basically functioning on the book which we call as a constitution. Okay, and the books provide the fundamental laws of the land. Like we had discussed that basically there is a preamble in our constitution, and the preamble described the basic nature of the country or the basic nature of this land as an sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. Like this is the fundamental most basic nature of this country in which we are living in. Okay, the country is sovereign, the country is socialist, the country is secular, the country is democratic, the country is republic. Okay, but remember when we talk about socialist, so we are socialist in some approach, we are not a communist. Okay, we are having the form of mixed economy, which means that both the government and private players operates side by side in this country. Okay, thereafter we are republic. Okay, so this is the most basic fundamental laws of the land. That's why the fundamental rights are named after it. Why? Because these rights are guaranteed by the constitution and even protected by the constitution. Okay, and the constitution is a fundamental law of the land, so that's why they are known as the fundamental rights. Clear? Now let's move forward. They are fundamental also in the sense that they are most essential for all-round development, like material, intellectual, moral and spiritual of the individuals, which is the fundamental essentials for basic liberty. Got it? Originally, basically the constitution provided for 7 fundamental rights. Okay, like the right to equality, articles 14 to 18, right to freedom, article 19 to 22, right against exploitation, article 23 to 24, right to freedom of religion, article 25 to 28, cultural and educational rights, article 29 to 30, right to property, article 31, right to constitutional remedies, article 32. Okay, these were the 7 fundamental rights provided by the constitution in the early terms, but later this was removed, and when the one article fundamental rights removed, so now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, there are 6 fundamental rights provided by the constitution, as the one fundamental rights has been removed from the list. Okay, how it was removed, that we will discuss in the next lecture. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.